about what? Skeletal system. Remember that? Do I need to record this? For those who did not come, huh? No, for those. For you, okay. I will put it in your mind now. Is that okay? Okay or not? Human being forget. So every lecture do you record? No, I did not see. Last time I did not record it anything. Did I record the skeletal system?
Yeah.
No. No, I did not. Anyway, I will do no problem. Not for you, for those who did not attend. Anyway, you remember we talk about what we talk about the somites last time, isn't it? What is made from somites? Can anybody explain me a little bit? Let's for your reminder, because this one is related to the previous topic. What was somite? Somite is mesoderm, ectoderm, or endoderm? Mesoderm, right? So we can say the skeletal system, it develops from mesoderm, right? Somite was divided into two portions. What was those? What were the names? Sclerotome and dermamyotom, right? Sclerotome and dermamyotom. The vertebral column, it was formed from sclerotome portion of the somite, you remember. Then there was another portion, we call it dermamyotom. So this portion, it contributes in the formation of myotome and dermatome. Dermatome, it contributes in the formation of the skin. I don't say that it forms the skin completely, no. Skin is also formed from the ectoderm and mesoderm. So let's forget about this dermatome. Another portion of this sclerotome was myotome. So we talk about muscle today. So this muscle, these muscles, they develop from myotome portion of the somites. Myotome portion of the somite. If I simply explain you, if you remember the position of the somite during the initial stages of development, where these somites start to develop? Around the notochord, not from the notochord.
Longitudinal bands.
Absolutely. Two bands of longitudinal mesoderm. Then this mesoderm is being cut into slice or cube-like structures. These cube-like structures are known as somites, right? We also saw in the previous class, these somites are also established the landmark for age determination of the embryo. At this age, for example, 15 to 20 days, there are 32 pairs of somites. 20 to 30 days, there are 40 to 44 pairs of somites. Okay, remember that, huh? In the previous class, we talked about this. So we can say at some stages, there are more somites than the vertebral column itself, isn't it? As I said, like 40 or 42 pairs or 44 pairs. But there are no 44 vertebrae, isn't it? So some of the somites in the later stages, they might go degenerate. Some of them, they completely in the occipital area, they are present, they completely form or contribute in the formation of the muscles, okay? So since we talk about the development of the muscle, how many types of muscles are there in the human body? Three. What are those? Skeletal, smooth, and cardiac. Very good. So we talk about the development of all these types of muscles. Okay. Generally speaking, most of the muscles, they form from mesoderm, but there are some exceptions. I mean to say, muscles, either it is smooth, skeletal, or cardiac. They are formed from mesoderm, and most of them, they are formed from somites. As you remember, as you said now, the somites, they are present about the vertebral column, near to the vertebral column, right? And I'm saying muscles, they are derived from somites. So it means muscles, they actually start to develop from back region. And then gradually, with the development of the body, they surround the body. This is a general development. There is exceptional to few muscles which I explain you later on. But generally, most of the muscles, got my point? You know, there are several nerves coming from the spinal cord, spinal nerves, right? These nerves, they are coming from the spinal cord, right? And where is the spinal cord?
The canal.
In the vertebral column, right? As I said, muscles, they originate from, can I have you with me? My hands are not going back actually. So that you will understand, they will understand properly. Nerves are here, right? Spinal cord is here, right? And this spinal cord, even from the cervical region until the lumbar region, they are distributing the nerves from the spinal cord. As I told you earlier, the vertebral column is made here by the somites. As I told you now, the muscles start to develop in this region from the somite, and they spread around the body wall like this, all the areas, right? When these muscles from the midline or from near to the vertebral column or from the somite, they spread in different regions of the body wall. I will tell you later on about the lower limb and upper limb, how they are developed. But at this stage, just remember, when they spread into the body wall, they bring their nerve supply with them from the spinal nerves. They bring their nerve supply with them because nerves are here in this vertebral column. They start to develop from it. When these muscles spread into the body wall, they carry their nerve supplies. I have a very beautiful picture of their nerve roots about these nerve supply to the muscles, which will explain you how these nerves carried with the muscles when they are formed, particularly the upper limb and the lower limb. I will explain you later on. You got my point? When these muscles spread into the body wall like this, they carry their nerve supply with them. From the beginning, from the myotome, myoblast period, they get their nerve supply at that stage. When they spread, they carry with them around the body wall in the upper limb and in the lower limb as well. Okay, you understand? If you understand this pattern, today's topic is no need for anything. Even you can explain them to your friends. With the exception, as I told you earlier, there are few exceptions. With the exception of some smooth muscle tissue, the muscular system develops from the mesoderm. Some exceptions, but mostly, almost all of the muscles, they develop from the mesoderm, but slight exception. The muscular system consists of skeletal, smooth, and cardiac muscles, as you said, right? Skeletal muscle is derived from paraxial mesoderm, which forms somites and somatomeres. You know about this, okay? Somite and somatomeres, they are same structures. Somatomeres are smaller than the normal somites, which contribute in the formation of the what we call it, the vertebral column. As I told you earlier, there are more somites than the vertebral column, isn't it? So some somites, they degenerate, some somites, they only contribute in the formation of the muscles, some somites, they don't do anything at all. As I told you earlier today, few exceptions of the muscles which are not derived from the mesoderm, the smooth muscles which derived from ectoderm, pupillary muscles. Where are the pupillary muscles? Pupillary muscles. Mammary gland, they derive from the ectoderm. And sweat gland muscles. Sweat gland, what are sweat glands? In the skin. So these muscles, they are muscles, but they don't derive from mesoderm. They are actually derived from ectoderm. So these are few exceptions, but mostly muscles, the skeletal, smooth, or cardiac, they derive from the mesoderm. Smooth muscle differentiates from splanchnic mesoderm surrounding the guts. Cardiac muscle derived from splanchnic mesoderm surrounding the heart tube. Let me explain both of these to you at this stage. You don't know, did you study the GIT until now? No, no, it's in third year, I think. Yeah. So that's why you don't know the development of the GIT. Actually, at some stage in the human development, the endoderm portion of the human being or the embryo, it is inside the body. For example, GI tract. The inside of the GI tract, it is derived from endoderm. Inside of the GI tract, it is derived from endoderm. At this stage, I am not going into much detail. It is derived from endoderm. Connective tissue, connective tissues around that endoderm, it contributes in the formation of smooth muscles of GI tracts. Contributes, give me one page, contributes in the formation of GI tract. This portion is endoderm. If I fold it like this, this is GI tract is tube-like structure, isn't it? Either it is esophagus, stomach is also a tube but slightly dilated, isn't it? The small intestine, it is a tube like this. Large intestine also a tube, but in some area it is slightly dilated, some area it is constricted, some area much dilated like stomach. So this all is endoderm, right? The connective tissues around the endoderm, connective tissue, it's derived from mesoderm, right? This connective tissue collects around this endoderm and they form the muscles of the intestine. What type of muscles are there in the intestine? Smooth muscle. This is how these smooth muscles are formed. Got my point? Around the endoderm, there is connective tissues. These connective tissues, under the influence of all these connective tissues, they contribute in the formation of smooth muscles around throughout GIT. During this formation, later on, I'm not going into much detail, they also contribute in the formation of the liver, spleen, other slight small glands. But as far as here, development of the muscles, smooth muscles, just remember this endoderm, inner lining of the GI tract. It is like this. All the connective tissues surrounding this GI tract, they contribute in the formation of the smooth muscles of the GI tracts. In the initial stages of development, heart, it is also tube-like structure. Heart, it is also a tube-like structure in the initial stages of development. This tube, similar like GI tube, but it is small. Same procedure occurs in the heart. Cardiac muscle is derived from splanchnic mesoderm surrounding the heart tube. If we look into the heart is also tube-like structure. From one artery, from one vein, blood coming into the heart, from other area, blood going out to the. But it is slightly specialized. But frankly, if we look into it, it is tube-like structure. Similar like stomach. Stomach is a tube-like structure. Something comes into it from one end and goes out from another end. But it is slightly dilated. Similar procedures occur in the heart and GI tract. They are tube-like structures. Connective tissue surrounding these tubes, they contribute in the formation of the muscle. In the GI tract, these muscles are smooth muscles. In the cardiac region, these muscles are known as cardiac muscles. Slight difference in them, we will talk about them later on. You understand about this point? This is about the muscles. Can you explain to your friends this? Inshallah. Good. 3 kinds of muscles, okay? Let me make a little bit more easier. Skeletal muscle is derived from mesoderm. Smooth muscle differentiates or derived from mesoderm. Cardiac muscle derived from mesoderm. Clear? This mesoderm we have in different area of the developing human. In different regions, the mesoderm has different names. Just remember this. In some area, we call it splanchnic mesoderm. In some area, we call it embryonic mesoderm. In some area, we call extraembryonic mesoderm. But for your understanding, it is derived from mesoderm. Skeletal muscle is derived from paraxial mesoderm. You know about the paraxial mesoderm. Yeah, two bands of, right? Smooth muscle derived from splanchnic mesoderm surrounding the gut. Cardiac muscle derived from splanchnic mesoderm surrounding the heart. That's how these muscles are developed. Now, gradually these muscles change their position as they surround the body wall, as the embryo or fetus keep growing. Even if the adult keep growing, these muscles, they keep on growing. Particularly when you do the bodybuilding, they grow to their maximum strength, isn't it? So, they change their pattern gradually with this. Head musculature is derived from 7 somatomeres. One thing remember, somite and somatomeres are almost same structures. Somatomeres are slightly smaller than the main somites. These somatomeres, they contribute in the formations of the muscle and some portion of the skin. They don't contribute in the formation of the vertebral column. So they, as I told you, there are extra somites than the vertebral column, than the vertebral bodies. So these somatomeres, they are smaller than the normal somites. They only contribute in the formation of the head muscles. They are partially segmented whorls of connective tissues. Whenever I say mesenchymal cells, they are connective tissues derived from the paraxial mesoderm. Paraxial mesoderm is the same which forms the somites. Somites or somatomeres form the musculature of the axial skeleton, body wall, limbs and head, as I explained on your body. Somites or somatomeres, I told you don't be confused with them. They are almost the same, but slight difference in the size. Somatomeres are a bit smaller than the usual somite. As I told you earlier, somites or somatomeres form the musculature of the axial skeleton in the midline, body wall, limbs and head. So almost all the muscles are formed from somites.
Which figure? Somites or somatomeres?
Somites are bigger. Somatomeres, they only contribute in the formation of the muscles. But somites, they contribute in the formation of the vertebral column, also in the muscle, also in the skin. Somatomeres, they contribute mainly in the muscle, but some of the somatomeres, they contribute in the formation of the skin as well. From the occipital region, caudally, somites form and differentiate into sclerotome, dermatome, and two muscle-forming regions. Question. Expecting a question from you. You cannot ask, you did not understand what I said earlier on.
What do you mean by two muscles?
Very good. I told you clearly, the somites have three portions, isn't it? One is sclerotome, one is myotome, one is dermatome. But here it says two muscle forming regions. Yes. The myotome region is further divided into two portions. The myotome region is further divided into two portions. One is epimere, another is hypomere. Somites. Somite has three portions: sclerotome, dermatome, myotome. Forget about sclerotome and dermatome, myotome. Myotome has two portions, epimere and hypomere. Got my point? Clear. During the differentiation, precursor cells of myoblasts fuse and form long multinucleated muscle fibers. Myofibrils soon appear in the cytoplasm. One thing at histological level, muscle cells at their origin, they are simple like other cells of the body. They have nucleus, they have cytoplasm, they have blah blah blah, everything inside them. Gradually, if these are the muscle cells, myofibrils, multinucleated myofibrils, they appear in the muscle cells. What are myofibrils? The muscle cells. The muscle cells. Initially, they don't have myofibrils. I don't remember exactly the day or weeks when these myofibrils are developed in the muscle cells, but just remember they are the usual cells. Gradually the striated pattern appears into them as a myofibril, maybe during the second or third week or fourth week of the development, but I don't remember exactly which week they are.
That's being actin and myosin?
Yes. Actin and myosin, they develop inside the cytoplasm. And this actin and myosin, they produce the myofibril pattern of the muscle fibers. Okay. Similar process occurs in the 7 somatomeres in the what is this? By the end of the third month, cross striation typical of the skeletal muscle, they appear. Similar process occurs in the 7 somatomeres in the head region, rostral or superior to the occipital somites. Similar pattern in the region of the head, where, as I told you, in the head region there are no vertebral columns, okay? But these somatomeres, the smaller somites, they just contribute in the formation of the head region. In these muscles also the striation patterns occurs during 3rd to 4 months. Patterning of the muscles, this is what I already told you. Pattern of muscle formation are controlled by connective tissue into which myoblasts migrate. Connective tissue has power. And there are another section which we call it neural crest cells. They have a power to divert the cells. To divert the cells what they want it to become. What they want it to become. So these connective tissue have influence on these cells to become the muscles. Their influence form these cells to become muscles. In cervical and occipital regions, they differentiate from the somatic mesoderm. In the body wall and limbs, they originate from somatic mesoderm. Almost all of them, they are developing from the mesoderm. In the head region, connective tissues are derived from neural crest cells. Anybody has an idea of the neural crest cells? No, you cannot have an idea of this. This is in the initial stages of the development of the human body. These cells, these neural crest cells, they distribute in the different areas of the body. They are derived actually from the ectoderm, but they are very influential cells. They are very influential cells. So in some of the region of the head, these neural crest cells also put influence on these cells to become the skeletal muscles in the head region. By the end of the 5th week, muscle cells are collected into 2 parts, epimere and hypomere. Epimere and hypomere. Dorsal portion is epimere, larger ventral portion is hypomere. Epimere formed from the dorsomedial cell of the somite, whereas hypomere formed from the dorsolateral cell of the somite. They are from the somite myotome portion. It is divided into 2 portions, epimere and hypomere. Just remember this. Nerves innervating segmental muscles are derived from the dorsal primary ramus of the epimere and ventral primary ramus for the hypomere. Do you understand this sentence? What is this? The nerve supply. As I told you earlier, when these muscles, they originate. Abdullah, you will not understand, I tell you.
No, I'm trying to read the doc.
Read. I will explain you again. No problem. Okay, come here. I will explain you. I want to explain you again. Not for other previous purpose, for this purpose. Nerves innervating segmental muscles are derived into dorsal primary ramus for epimere and ventral primary ramus for hypomere. As I explained you earlier, this somite region, the nerve supply to the muscles of the body wall and the limbs, they are coming from the somite region of the vertebral, spinal cord. So, as this sentence says, nerve innervating segmental muscles, these epimere and hypomere, they form different types of the muscles in the body. These hypomere cells, when they migrate into the body wall, these epimere cells, when they migrate into the body wall, they bring their nerve supply, and this pattern, this nerve innervating segmental muscles are divided into dorsal primary ramus of the epimere and ventral primary ramus. Dorsal and ventral ramus, they supply to these 2 kinds of the muscles. And these muscles, they carry their nerve supply with them. When they contribute or when they encircle the body wall, they bring their nerve supply from the spinal region. Now, I hope you will understand and you will also understand. But these are the few slides which are a little bit tricky. What shall I do here? Gone. Myoblasts of the epimeres form the extensor muscles of the vertebral column. Myoblasts of the hypomeres give rise to muscles of the limbs and body wall. Myoblasts from cervical hypomeres form the scalene, gynohyoid and prevertebral muscles. Now there are several muscles. We will put their names, which muscle is coming from which area, which muscle getting their nerve supply from which area. Myoblast from thoracic segments splits into 3 layers. This is the same layer of the muscles which is also present in the abdominal wall or the flank. In the thoracic region, these 3 muscles, they are represented by external intercostal, internal intercostal and innermost intercostal. In the abdominal wall, these 3 layers are consist of external oblique, internal oblique and transversus abdominal. Actually, their pattern is same. They are coming from the somoid region, but they in the thoracic region, they are known as thoracic muscles. In the abdominal region, they are known as abdominal muscles. Actually, these all are in 3 layers: external, internal and most internal. We can also call them external, middle and internal. In the thoracic region, external intercostal, internal intercostal and innermost intercostal or transversus thoracis, we also give it a name. This same layer, when it comes into the abdominal region, its name is changed, otherwise the layer is almost the similar, and it's external intercostal, external oblique, internal oblique and transversus abdominis muscle. Actually, they derived from the myotome region of the somoid, and they contribute or they incorporate into the body wall. Don't go into that. I'll talk about this later on. Myoblasts from the hypoblast of lumbar segments form the quadratus lumborum of the lumborum muscle. Myoblasts from the sacral coccygeal regions form the pelvic diaphragm and striated muscles of the anus. Three ventrolateral muscle layers, a ventral longitudinal column arises at the ventral tip of the hypomeres. This column is represented by rectus abdominis muscle, infrahyoid muscle. In the thorax, longitudinal muscle normally disappears but is occasionally represented by the sternalis muscle. Again, same pattern. Again, same pattern. As we discussed earlier, 3 layers. Again, a band of muscles actually coming from the dorsal area, migrated anteriorly. This band of muscle in the abdominal region, it is known as rectus abdominis. In the thoracic region, near the sternum, it is known as sternalis muscle. It's new for you, sternalis. Have you ever heard about the sternalis muscle? And in the neck region, it is known as infrahyoid muscle. What is sternalis muscle? Where is that? It is on the sternum, but normally it disappears.
So what's presented? Pressure?
No, nothing is present in your body now.
Just skin.
Just skin. It appears during the developmental stage, but before birth it disappears. But 1% or less than 1% population, this muscle exists. Person is born, this muscle exists. Sometimes in the females, this muscle can be misdiagnosed as the tumor of the breast. Slight swelling on one side of the sternum. It may be misdiagnosed for the breast tumor. If the mammogram is taken or X-ray is taken, well, there is a tumor. But actually that is a sternalis muscle, very low percentage, maybe less than 1 point some percent people they have this sternalis muscle present in their body. All voluntary muscles of the head region are derived from paraxial mesoderm. These include musculature of the tongue, as those associated with the pharyngeal arches and the eye. Iris is derived from optic curve ectoderm. As I told you, few muscles exceptions. Few muscles exceptions. They are not derived from the mesoderm. As I told you, the some muscles in the eye, like this iris, which is derived from the ectoderm, breasts, the sweat gland muscles, they are derived from the ectoderm. Patterns of muscle formation in the head are directed by connective tissue elements derived from the neural crest cells. So these patterns, they are being influenced by the connective tissues and the neural crest cells. Just look at the picture and understand. Limb musculature. Upper limb, lower limb. Limb bud, limb bud. Look there, look there. What do you understand? All these muscles, occipital myotomes, cervical myotomes, thoracic myotomes, lumbar myotomes. You can see these muscles from the myotomes. This is the somoid region, right? These muscles from the myotomes, they are traveling, but they are taking their nerve roots with them. Head region, neck region, thoracic region, lumbar region. If you understand this picture, I don't need to explain anything before. Limb, lower limb, upper limb, lower limb. Gradually they enlarge. Look, they carry their, as I told you earlier, they carry their nerve supply with them. From the beginning, upper limb, it carries its nerve supply. Lower limb, it carries its nerve supply. How? This is the way. How it starts? It starts like this. Clear? This is how this nerve pattern, if you remember this picture, if I ask you the root of the nerve supply to the upper limb, to the lower limb, if you remember this picture, it's clear to you. This is how, as I explained on your body initially, these muscles, they incorporate into the body wall. These muscles, they incorporate into the upper limb and lower limb and in the head region. This explains you, again, somites are more than the vertebrae we have. Why? Because vertebrae are 33 in number, whereas there are head musculature, they are derived from the somatomeres, the smaller somites. Some more structures they are developing from them. So somites, maybe some of the somites, they don't contribute in the formation, they degenerate. Okay, so this is how this pattern is established for the muscle development. C7 comes down.
Well,
Yep.
why there are some differences between the box and the dermatome?
Between?
In between box and the dermatome areas.
It is written here again. Some things are changed at the time of rotation. Not all, but some variation. If we talk about this, at it forms the limbs, upper and lower limb. But you remember, there is a very important event in the development of the limb is the rotation. Due to the rotation, this pattern is slightly changed. And again, the dermatome, when the skin is formed, this pattern is more slightly changed. That's why it is not appropriate to your mental thinking what is actually explained here. Okay? So let's read it. With the elongation of the limb buds, the muscle tissue splits into flexor and extensor compartments. Here comes the answer of your question. Muscles of the limbs fuse and are then composed of tissue derived from several segments. The upper limb bud is opposite the lower 5 cervical and upper 2 thoracic segments. The lower limb buds lie opposite the lower 4 lumbar and upper 2 sacral segments. Anyway, ventral primary rami from the appropriate spinal nerves penetrate into the connective tissue of the buds. At first, each ventral ramus enters with isolated dorsal and ventral branches, but soon these branches unite to form large dorsal and ventral nerves. A bit confusing, but remember, at the time of the development of the buds, the pattern looks very smooth and very simple, but when these limbs they grow and the rotation of the limbs occur, slightly pattern is being changed. Dorsal and ventral rami, they change their position due to this rotation. Radial nerve supplies the extensor musculature, whereas the ulnar and median nerve supplies the flexor musculature. Immediate contact between the nerve and muscle cells is a prerequisite for their complete functional differentiation. Spinal nerves play an important role in the differentiation and motor innervation of the limb musculature. They also provide sensory innervation for the dermatomes. The original dermatomal pattern changes with growth of the extremities. The original, this one, as you asked, changes with growth of the extremities. An orderly sequence can still be recognized in that, but the order remains the same, but original is slightly changed due to the limb development and the rotation. This is muscles development. This I already explained you. Cardiac muscle develop from mesoderm surrounding the endothelial heart tube. Slightly again, this was the heart tube. The inner lining of the heart tube, it is formed from the endoderm. Connective tissue surrounding this endoderm, they form the muscles of the heart. Inside is endothelium, middle is the muscle, myocardium. Myoblasts adhere to one another by special attachments that later develop into the intercalated disc. What is the difference between the skeletal muscle and the cardiac muscle? Cardiac muscle has intercalated disc, whereas smooth muscles, they don't have. A few special bundle of muscle cells with irregularly distributed myofibrils form the conducting system of the heart. These are known as Purkinje system or Purkinje fibers or conducting system of the heart. A smooth muscle of the gut, I already told you the similar, the gut is endoderm surrounded by the mesenchyme or connective tissue. These connective tissue converge to form the smooth muscles of the gut. Inside is endoderm, outside is smooth muscles of the gut. This is how the smooth muscles of intestine, they are being formed. Sphincter and dilator muscles of the pupil and muscle tissue in the mammary gland and sweat glands originate from the ectoderm. They are not formed, these are the exceptions, muscles which are not formed from the mesoderm. Rib defect, sometimes As I told you earlier on, the ribs are formed from the vertebral column. Sometimes extra rib is also developed. Cervical ribs are usually attached to the 7th cervical vertebra. Occasionally extra rib is formed, usually in the lumbar or cervical region. In the cervical region, it is important, it may compress the brachial plexus. We remove this extra rib. This is known as cervical rib. This may impinge onto the brachial plexus. Defects of the sternum. As I told you earlier on, the sternum is formed by the two bands. This band is not fused, separated. Sternum area is closed by only by the skin. Cleft sternum is very rare defect and may be complete or located on either side of the sternum. Thoracic organs are covered only by the skin and soft tissue. There is no sternum sometimes. Absence of muscles. Some of the muscles I have mentioned here, there might be absence due to some developmental defects. Either mother took some medicine, or some pressure effects occurs, or some areas blood supply is impinged during the development. Bone age can be determined by the ossification centers, can be seen by the X-ray, and advanced technologies are present. So we can identify the age of the fetus as well as age of the baby after birth, particularly the bones of the wrist. We can find the ossification centers in them. Defect in the digits. Sometimes the digits are shortened. It is called as brachydactyly. Two or more fingers or toes fused together like this. Syndactyly, it is known as. Presence of extra finger or a toe, it is called as polydactyly. Absence of a digit called ectrodactyly. 6. Have you seen the cases? Yes, it's common. Sometimes it's long, but sometimes a very small finger is present there. Yes. It's not. One of the students we have here, senior to you.
You can have him in us.
Okay, so cleft hand and cleft foot, cleft from here, cut. Similarly in the foot it is been cut. It is known as cleft hand or cleft foot.
Most common with the cleft in the baby, with the labia, with the lips.
Lips, yes, cleft lip, and also cleft palate.
That's more common than the sternum.
Yes, that is more common. That is my sternum is like I did not see in my life. Only one case.
What do they do with the babies that have the cleft lip?
Get a full lecture from me. It's